when we talked in the spring about things to work on as a coach, we talked to you about all defense starts with being able to guard the basketball. The second part of defense is being able to rebound a missed shot. One thing we know, players do not block out. University of Houston blocks out. St. Mary's blocks out. Florida blocks out. If you get a good possession and you stop someone, you cause them to miss, you must secure the rebound. Containing the ball and rebounding, the essence to winning basketball. Welcome to another Coaching You podcast with the Coach Brendan Suhr, presented by Noah Basketball. The last couple of weeks in the NBA, we lost some really key people. Two of them were really close friends of mine. The great Lenny Wilkins, Hall of Famer, as a player, as a coach, and came in went into the Hall of Fame, also with the '92 Dream Team, where he was Chuck Daly's assistant on that. Lenny Wood for years was the winningest coach in the NBA. I got the honor to work. First of all, I got the honor to be the vice president of the NBA Coaches Association for 10 years when Lenny was president. We worked so closely together. And then when he went to the Knicks, when Isaiah Thomas hired him to be the head coach, I got to be with him, sit next to him on the bench, and have a great relationship with him. Had one of the greatest minds I've ever worked with anyone in the game. Had a great personality, from Brooklyn, New York, but so easygoing, kind, just an incredible man. And I remember when Shaq first came into the league as a young player and he made the All-Star team and Lenny was coaching the team. Lenny said to me, Lenny was a great storyteller. And when we would go to dinner when we were in New York, he said, Shaq comes up to me and says, did you ever play basketball? And he said, yeah, I did. He says, in the NBA? He said, yeah. He said, were you any good? He said, yeah, I played 15 years, 16 years, and I'm in the Hall of Fame. Shaq said, no shit, really? But he was that unassuming, but he, a left-handed point guard that could only go left and got left every time he wanted to. Just amazing guy. He was one of those people that, as a head coach, he thought so quickly on his feet. He won a world championship in Seattle, but when I went to the Pistons, his team was the best in the league, and he had a tremendous team: Brad Daugherty, Larry Nance, and and we got to Hot Rod Williams, Mark Price, Ron Harper. That was the kind of team they had. Craig Elo, and I'll tell you what, they were the best team in the NBA that year. And then late in the year, Mark Price unfortunately got a slight concussion and they lost their top seed. And all of a sudden they had to play Michael Jordan in the first round. And that's when Michael made the very famous shot over Elo to win the first round, upset in 7 games in Cleveland. And that kind of propelled Michael as one of the great events, and that started their run towards the Bulls' run towards climbing up there to get into the competitive area. But Lenny is someone that was Mr. Basketball in Seattle. There's a statue outside the arena there, the Key Arena. He's an ambassador for the league. He just was so good and such a gentleman, and it was an honor to be with him. And everyone in the NBA felt it when he passed. 88 years young, but still, going strong. But absolutely amazing human. The other person that we lost was someone that I have really strong background with, Richie Adubato, who a lot of people in the basketball world might not know. But Richie was a great high school coach in New Jersey. As a high school player, I played against him. He was also an infamous coach at 5-Star Camp, which was the camp in the country, where I was a camper in the very first camp. And Richie, Mike Fratello, Brian Hill, Hubie Brown, those Dick Vitale, those were all the guys out of North Jersey that ended up making it to the NBA and had such a huge influence on coaching. And when I was became a college player, Richie was a college coach, and in the area where I went to school. And he would have a basketball day camp in the summer, and Fratello, myself, Brian Hill, we'd all work for him, and when I really learned about basketball and coaching was working at camps. But at night, even though it was only a day camp, we would go to New Jersey's famous for diners, places that are open 24 hours a day where you can grab a meal. And it ended up at the end of the night, it seemed at 2:00 in the morning, we were at a diner that we would on Bloomfield Avenue, where six coaches would be drawing up plays on a placemat in the diner, and then we would take our clinic to the parking lot and literally walking through plays. When I think about it now, we laugh about it, but that's how we all grew up talking ball. And Richie was amazing. He went from college coaching to being Dick Vitale's assistant with the Pistons. He ended up going and working with Brian Hill in Orlando. Ended up, when Brian got fired, he ended up taking over the Magic. I ended up with Chuck Daly replacing him. He ended up going to the WNBA and coaching the New York Liberty with Becky Hammon, who's maybe the greatest coach now in WNBA history. So Richie is a basketball lifer, still living in Orlando, and was a voice of the radio voice for the Magic for the last 15 years or so. But I last saw him in May at Dick Vitale's gala. And, it's really sad to see someone like Rich pass, but so much to basketball, so much to us in New Jersey in basketball. And then the last person, that's one that is Michael Ray Richardson. A lot of people nowadays do not know Michael. Michael was a 6'5" point guard, great defender, University of Montana, first-round pick of the Knicks, played for UB Brown. The unfortunate part, he was a Hall of Fame caliber player. Unfortunately, during that tough time in the early 80s when the NBA and society really was infested by drugs, especially cocaine and crack and things like that, unfortunately, he got hooked. And it happened to a lot of young players in the league. Unfortunately, he was a player, one of the first players that the NBA banned for life. And it was really, really something, because he was a player that, we should be celebrating that he was a Hall of Famer. But unfortunately, when you make decisions in life, choices that we make are tough ones. Unfortunately, he made some bad ones. But I just wanted to recognize he was one of the very best talents we ever had in this league, offensively and especially defensively. So I just wanted to mention those three. Lenny, superb coach. Richie, amazing. Richie Adubato also could have done a Netflix stand-up comedy thing. He was one of the great storytellers of all time, and everyone in our basketball community loved him. So again, prayers to their families. And we're going to take a quick time out. We're going to come back, and we got some other things on the other side to share with you. Noah Basketball is our new presenting sponsor of our Coaching You podcast. Noah Basketball is a shot tracking and data company that has helped change how coaches and players perfect the game's most important skill, shooting. Noah is a data service provider that uses machine learning and the latest computer vision technology to provide real-time data and feedback to improve shooting accuracy and consistency for professional and amateur basketball players. Noah has now analyzed over 570 million shots from countless high school, hundreds of college teams, and 28 NBA franchises. The technology is simply amazing. Once the system has been installed, players will be able to get immediate feedback on their shooting arc, left and right positioning, depth, makes or misses, and makes the data available to players and coaches on your mobile device. For more information about how Noah can help your team, visit noahbasketball.com. Hey, I just wanted to share with you a couple of things before we get started with our second half of our podcast. We're right in the middle of our Black Friday sale, and Coaching You Plus, this app is it's on fire right now, because it is providing for you, the coach that's in season right now, amazing solutions to problems that come up all the time, because we have nearly 600 different people to learn from, lectures and stuff that are happening, as well as our guests on our podcast and unbelievable resources that we have for you, the coach, as you're in real time. Because one thing that I've always found about coaching is that it's a lonely business, especially as a head coach. So our Black Friday is 25% off. And I think Zach and I try to do this so that at this time, holiday time, it wasn't in your budget to do, but you know what? You need it. And I encourage you to get it. So when you do check out, first of all, go to coachingyoulive.com/Black Friday. Okay. Just purchase what you want there, and then at checkout, go to a promo code Black Friday at checkout to get 25% off. Trust me, it is one of the great resources. It's like having a lot of assistant coaches. Not trying to get rid of assistant coaches. We love them. But this is like having another assistant coach, except they always have the right answer, these ones. So I think you'll really enjoy it. Other things I wanted to talk about in the second half was I want to celebrate LeBron James. Incredible, 23 years. Last week he started his 23rd season in a year, longest ever. And in just a few months, or within 2 months, I think, he will surpass the most games ever played in a league. I think beating my friend Robert Parrish, who used to play for the Celtics, as the most games ever played in the NBA. This kid out of Akron, Ohio, to think that he'd ever done what he's done. And he's just a phenom. And he represents everything you want in a player. He's the ultimate pro, so cerebral, so gifted, but so professional. So celebrate to LeBron. Steph Curry, the other 37 years old, a couple of weeks ago, put on a show, back-to-back games over a 3-day period in San Antonio, where he scored like 95 points, in 2 games to beat the Spurs in 2 games, coming off like a 35-point loss at at OKC, comes in there and just carries his team to 2 wins. Steph Curry, his owner, said, Joe Lacob said the other day before he did that, I think Steph Curry might be the Tom Brady of basketball and play till he's in his mid-40s. That would be insane, because I find point guards usually at 32, 33 lose their legs. This guy seems to be getting stronger. He's so smart, but he works so hard at his craft. So I salute to Steph Curry. The other thing I'm concerned about in the NBA is injuries. We're having a lot of what we call soft tissue injuries. Go online. Look for Steve Kerr's comments on these last week, where he talked about why this is happening. He believes, even though we have the best medical treatment in the league, the NBA is so focused on injuries. The pace of play is so fast. The players are running so hard, and they're covering. You used to have to not worry about a player at 3-point range. He might shoot, he might not, but let's not worry about that. Now, all 5 players want to shoot the 3. So when you close out to a guy, you have to close out to the 3-point line. So you're running more defensively and offensively. So I thought it was a great point. We're getting these soft tissue injuries. By that, we mean strain to the calf, hamstring, groin injuries. I talked to Eder Messina last week. 65 players in the EuroLeague have what we call orthopedic injuries, which means ACL, broken this and that. These are not soft tissue injuries. I don't know why that's happening over there, but it's a real problem when you have 65 players in a 20 league that could be out for the season. Very bad problem. So I think it's really something that we keep an eye on. The other thing I want to shout out to is surprise teams in the league. My alma mater, the Detroit Pistons, just a few years ago, they set a record for 28 consecutive losses. Embarrassing to all of us in the Piston family. And I got to give Trajan Lang and JB Bickerstaff incredible credit for how they've turned around this franchise in the last 2 years. They are so competitive. And I'll tell you what, they are getting after it. As we're recording this, they've won in an area of 11 games in a row. I give them so much credit that what they're doing, and they play so hard. But even when they've had last week, they had at one point 2 games in a row where all 5 starters were out, and they still won. That tells you a lot about a program, the depth, the way they play, and how they've totally bought in. But mark my words, Cade Cunningham is a superstar. Jaden Duren is coming on, 21 years old. He should be in this year's NBA draft. I said to one of the NBA personnel people the other day, if he was in the draft, where does he fall? He's the number 1 pick in the draft. That's how good a player he is. And I believe they got him around number 10 in a trade with the Knicks, if I'm not mistaken. What a player, what a rebounder, power player. He's got one of those incredible bodies, plays with a high motor. Love what they're doing. And huge shout out to Darko in Toronto and Bobby Webster, how they've turned that young player franchise around. The Toronto Raptors are for real. They can guard you. They play fast. They have 5, 6, 7 guys every night in double figures. They have a real team. They're a real brotherhood up there. And it's all because they've all bought into great coaching staff, great leadership in the front office, and they have some young, exceptional players to trade for Brandon Ingram last year to trade deadline. Scotty Barnes, Quigley, R.J. Barrett. They got some players, and they're young. So watch that team. And a big shout out to Matt Ishbia's Phoenix Suns. They had big name coaches for a couple of years. They had big name players. They got rid of Bradley Beal in a buyout. They traded Kevin Durant. They went with a guy, Jordan Ott, who had never been a head coach. And they are playing great. It looks like they have great culture. They play hard. And they have put together the best winning streak that they've had in the last 3 years. So a shout out to the Suns, to Jordan Ott, and to the players on that team, because they play hard, they guard you, and they play fast. So I really like what I'm seeing from those people. Let's talk about the college game. The college game is very interesting right now. We're in November, so it's the kind of what I call the non-conference game schedule. We see 2 types of teams that are out there. We see the Power 4 teams, the big schools, the big money schools that play what I call a lot of guarantee games. They're trying to accumulate wins before they get into conference play. It's a philosophy. Nothing wrong with it. Pay a lot of money to bring a team in. They win the game by 20, 25, 30 points. Great. Okay, you got to win. Does that really measure who your team is? Does that show you where your weaknesses are? Trust me, if you're in the NBA and you play the worst team in the league, whether it be the Brooklyn Nets, the Pelicans, this year the Indiana Pacers going from Game 7 to the worst team in the league because of injuries, you better be ready to play. When you're playing a guarantee game, it's almost impossible for that team to beat you. So does that really measure who your team is? Whereas the several other teams in college ball are doing this, where you're seeing Alabama for the 3rd year in a row playing the toughest schedule in college basketball, playing St. John's in Madison Square Garden, playing Purdue at home, playing Illinois in Chicago. I mean, they are going after it every night. To seeing UConn play BYU, Arizona, Kansas playing at North Carolina, playing Duke, Kentucky playing at Louisville, and then playing Michigan State in Madison Square Garden, Florida playing Arizona and Vegas. I just think this is how you really measure your squad. And now you see, where are we? To get into league play, because all those teams, if they win their league, they get a bid anyway. So it's just different philosophies, no right or wrong way. But I think the other way, when you're a big-time team, it's better to get a real measuring stick rather than some fool's gold going into the league play. Observations I have from watching college and pro basketball this time of year. All the time we spend in the off season, player development, off season training, training camp, college, July, August, September, October. I go and watch college teams, and I see biggest problem is defensively, we can't keep the ball in front of us. I don't care what kind of defense you play, whether you play zone, you play man-to-man. The essence of every defense is you must keep the ball in front of you. When we talked in the spring about things to work on as a coach, we talked to you about these things. All defense starts with being able to guard the basketball. The second part of defense is being able to rebound a missed shot. One thing we know, players do not block out. University of Houston blocks out. St. Mary's blocks out. Florida blocks out. A lot of teams, though, they want to rebound. The key on offense is to, when you shoot, is if you miss, offensive rebounding. I don't know why you don't go, because no one's blocking you out. The second thing, of course, defensively, if you get a good possession and you stop someone, you cause them to miss, you must secure the rebound. So containing the ball and rebounding, the essence to winning basketball. And then the other observation I have is that when you get into a close game, and it's really important when you get into a close game, that as a coach, I don't care what offense you run for most of your game in the pros, it seems like everyone has bought one of those licenses to run 5-out offense. But all I know, to secure a win in a high level of play in college or pro basketball, you have to get your best players shots in crunch time. This is not time to be equal opportunity, everyone gets a trophy type of offense. You must get your best players shots. And I think it's really, really important that you focus on that. Any of these ideas are just observations on my part. My job, our job, Zach's and my job at coaching you is simply to help you. We're your resource. Coaching you was founded on the idea that we were educational, that we would help you get better through learning. That the other thing is we personally want to feel that we're coaching you individually. So we're that resource for you. We're that other assistant coach. And so that's why I want you to take advantage of that. You're working hard. You listen to a podcast. All my friends that are sending me these nice text messages telling me, hey, like the podcast, I work out to it every day. That is great. Okay. The other one is get the app so that you can now listen to someone else talk to you for 45 minutes to an hour and 10 minutes on one of their clinic lectures. It will really help you grow as a coach. Till next week, this is the coach, Brendan Suhr.